During the week of October 28th, 2012, the United States East Coast suffered through one of its worst storms in years. In a matter of days, Hurricane Sandy made its way up the East Coast, destroying towns and coastlines along its way. With its massive size and strong winds, Sandy quickly became the second costliest Atlantic hurricane, just under Hurricane Katrina. Winds were reported to reach 90 miles per hour, covering approximately a 1,000-mile diameter, with wind gusts as high as 130 miles per hour. Let's see how 4 major news sources covered this story. Hurricane Sandy caused much destruction in the New York City region, so it's unsurprising that the prestigious New York Times did a lot of coverage on it. The New York Times coverage of the hurricane included pre-storm weather pattern predictions all the way through the aftermath and cleanup efforts. They utilized various multimedia platforms, including photographs, interactive maps showing power outages, and even posting videos from citizen journalists who captured the devastation on film. Of course, the Times did not just focus their efforts on the New York City. They also covered the surrounding areas, including New Jersey and Long Island, along with other affected locations. This hurricane hit home for New York Times, and they have been diligently updating readers on the state of the city regarding transportation, power outages, emergency supplies, and more. They even updated the world on how their famous theatrical world Broadway is suffering from an $8.5 million revenue loss due to canceled shows. The main focus of their coverage from the New York Times has been on the devastation that the city and surrounding areas has suffered, as well as the hardships this hurricane has caused on local businesses, tourist locations, and the average citizen. Interestingly, CNN covers a few times the hurricane's impact on the presidential campaign, along with the role of social media in the coverage of the storm. Journalists for CNN wrote about how the presidential candidates Mitt Romney and President Obama made their final emotional appeals just before the presidential election, and how Hurricane Sandy may influence the election results. In an interesting twist, CNN also wrote on how the buzz surrounding Sandy managed to overshadow the presidential candidates, at least on Facebook. For U.S. users, the top buzzwords on Facebook included Sandy, hurricane, be safe, storm, and my friends, among others. CNN also covered the traumatic aftermath of the storm with shocking before and after photographs. Now, ABC News spent a lot of effort covering on how the hurricane impacted people. Much focus is on the aftermath of the storm and how residents of affected areas are in the process of rebuilding their homes. They offer updates on the widespread power outages and the gasoline shortages that are occurring in the damaged regions. ABC appears to have taken the storm coverage in a direction that informs us of the impacts the residents of these areas are facing. From business loss to the destruction of beach towns that were the setting of childhood memories, ABC's coverage takes an angle of finding out what it's like to be in the shoes of those whose lives were upturned by Sandy. However, not all of their coverage features bad news. They also covered how certain businesses such as plumbers, tree surgeons, and more are actually flourishing from this destruction. They are representing the voice of the people with their coverage by showing us just what they are facing. Different from the rest, Fox News covers a lot of the financial effects brought on by Sandy. They cover topics such as businesses preying on victims through price gouging and how looting has become a problem. They reported how some people were caught selling gas on Craigslist for up to $20 a gallon, and even more disturbing, how some people were posing as utility workers to gain entry into homes to rob residents. Financially, Fox News writes about how Pepco Holdings Incorporated expects to have accumulated between $45 to $65 million in incremental costs from the storm, which struck the power company's systems on October 29th. On a lighter note, Fox News also covered stories on how many banks are waiving fees in lieu of the hurricane for those in the devastated regions. The common theme of much of the Fox News coverage seems to be the financial devastation. This includes how businesses have been affected, how the storm has brought out the worst in some people, causing them to steal, and how towns hope to rebuild themselves just in time for summer tourism. In a recap, all 4 news outlets covered the hurricane in their own different ways, which was interesting to compare. The New York Times covered an array of topics from weather patterns to power outage updates. Fox News took a fiscal approach to the storm, while ABC News reported a lot on the state of the people. Lastly, CNN took a political and social approach by angling the reports to show us the political impact and presence on social media. Of course, Sandy will continue to be a hot topic for news coverage for some time to come, very similar to Hurricane Katrina's legacy. Until then.